I am Ken with yet another I am Ken report.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you?
Waging war on corruption. Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you?
Well, I think getting to the truth of it, and that's what we're not getting to, because when Saddam Hussein used the gases, some of the products were bought from us, and he was still our ally. So you can't ignore that. No, I don't. I think it's a false flag. I think really, indeed. And nobody knows if indeed he was slaughtering people by the thousands, with poison gas. That's a different story, but that isn't the case. Matter of fact, 100,000 deaths are the case. And it's not, the implication is that Assad committed 100,000 killings. There are a lot of factions out there. Why don't we ask, about the Al-Qaeda? Why are we on the side of the Al-Qaeda right now? So I think they want the weapons. The rebels want the weapons. There's a bunch of people in there. Al-Qaeda is part of it. And this is the test for
We're going to play that full clip coming up the next hour.
And then send in weapons.
But there you go. There is Ron Paul talking about a false flag.
Attention, United States and global citizens, say no to war in Syria.
And we're joined for this segment and a little bit of the next, as he's about to get on an airplane, by the editor of World Affairs Brief, great geopolitical mind, Joel Skousen. Joel, what is your breakdown on what's really happening? Do you think there's going to be a limited strike attack? Will it be bigger? And what do you think will come out of it? Or will there not be a strike? And do you think this is a false flag with the rebels?
Well, it's definitely a false flag with the rebels, Alex. There is no way that Assad, knowing that the U.S. is just itching for an excuse to invade or to attack, would use a chemical weapon, a homebrew, one single weapon to kill a few people within his own neighborhood. It's just impossible to think that an intelligent, rational being would just hand the U.S. an excuse. This was clearly a homebrew rocket created by the rebels or fed to them by black operations. There's lots of sources of nerve gas that the U.S. has around. They can manufacture, they can make it look like a mixture of many others. This is a dramatic false flag operation suggested by this. Now, that said, I think it's important to realize that the situation has changed dramatically against the United States intent. I'm completely convinced they were intending to launch 200 to 300 cruise missiles and do a massive strike against this, but public support is waning fast. Congress is getting upset. It's a great news that the British Parliament just said no to David Cameron, leaving the U.S. hanging out there alone without UN support. They're really big as globalists on getting UN backing. All they've got is yes men in NATO and the U.S., and the U.S. people simply aren't buying it.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? Attention, United States and global citizens, say no to war in Syria. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you?